Hi guys, this is Abhinav and welcome to MTAG TV. Tonight we are live with our first ever post IPL post match review, and today we are discussing the CSK Delhi Capitals game that's just about concluded with Delhi winning by 7 wickets. Joining me tonight are two very fabulous guests with me. There's Sahil Sharma, who's one of the best cricket quizzers around and an avid cricket fan, and with him we've got our old friend in the house, Rahul Warrior. So, guys, welcome to the show. Let's
Thank you. Thank you,
straight
Abhinav.
off dive in. Let's dive in straight off. Sahil, I'll get you first. I mean, CSK's team combination was a little too strange. They went in with. I mean, what do you think? I mean, is it the right combination for them, or do they really have to, or is it a little too imbalanced?
Yeah, I think they went with a imbalanced squad today. They had too many batsmen. So if you ask me, I would rather go with a Imran Tahir instead of a Faf du Plessis. And as we saw today that they promoted Moeen Ali at the top of the order, so Moeen Ali can open with Ruturaj Gaikwad. And if they have a wrist spinner like Imran Tahir, so he can get them those wickets that they were looking for today, right? So they couldn't get those wickets. They had one chance with Shaw. Moeen Ali produced that chance, but apart from that, I think they look very insipid today. Also, in the fast bowling department, I mean, death bowling, they didn't have much to bowl at today. The game was over, but uh, in the later stages of the tournament, death bowling could be an issue. I don't see a Thakur, Chahar, or a Sam Curran bowling decently at the death. So they might have to look at Behrendorff, and for that they might have to drop Bravo. Bravo, I mean, he has a lot of experience in the IPL bowling at the death, and he has done really well for CSK. He has given them really good results. So in the initial stages, I would still want to go with Dwayne Bravo as the seamer for their death bowling. So for the next few matches, I would really want CSK to go with Imran Tahir at least in the squad.
Rahul, I'll come to you with the same question. I mean, what do you think? I mean, CSK's 11, was it a little too imbalanced, or did they have the right intention and combination on the ground?
I mean, at the start of the game, like at the toss on paper, it looks so good. We have Thakur at number 10, that you would expect them to, post a big total, which in the end they didn't do. And yeah, it is imbalanced because it's all nice to have 10 batsmen who can hit the ball, but um, it's just to imbalance. What about the bowlers? And the CSK bowling is not. They need a wicket taker, and it's for me, continuing this similar mistakes they made last season. Is continuing with Faf. You don't need overseas batsmen like Faf when you have capable Indian options. When your team needs help elsewhere, so Faf needs to go, and probably once Berendorf is quarantine is done, he could play in for um, he could play for Bravo. So, yeah, it is imbalanced, and they probably need to give a bit of attention to their bowling attack.
I think great points there, Sahil and Rahul. I'll come to you with Delhi's playing combination, and first time we were seeing Rishabh Pant captain in the IPL. They obviously had a couple of quarantine for enforced changes that they had to make. What do you make of their team combination today? I mean, Rahul, did Delhi have a decent enough 11 on the park, or did they go in with a little, or they were also going with a slightly safety first approach?
I think considering the two South African pacers are unavailable to play, it's the best attack they could have fielded. And to Vok's credit, Vok's did quite well today, and Tom Curran was all right until the end, but still exceeded expectations for me at least. And yeah, it was surprised to see Avesh play, but then later I read that Ishant was injured and couldn't play. So and Avesh did well as well. So Delhi did quite well, and when the South Africans return, it'll make them quite a good side, even better.
Uh, I think Sahil, I'll come to you. What did you make of Delhi's playing 11 today? I mean, of course, they had to play Curran and Vokes due to the quarantine that Nokia and Rabada are serving. But otherwise, did you think they got their playing 11 more or less right?
Yeah, I think so. I think they got their playing 11 right for this game. I mean, straight away. I mean, if once Rabada and Nokia are back from the quarantine, I think they should come back for Karan and Vokes. Uh, Regarding Rishabh Pant's captaincy, I would say I think it was his first game, and I think especially that 15th over that he gave to Stoinis, and I think he should have given that it to Vokes. I think Vokes had still didn't bowl his fourth over, so that was I thought that was a mistake that Delhi made, and they could have restricted maybe CSK to a 10-run less total as well today with Vokes bowling that 15th over instead of Stoinis, because on a Wankhede, I mean that kind of track bowling with at the death, it's not really right strategy. But as I said, right, it's his first game as a captain, so he will learn definitely. And also, I mean, I had mm, uh, read about this stat that especially CSK's batsmen, all these batsmen, Faf, Dhoni, Raina, Rayudi, Jadeja, they had all struggled against Amit Mishra and Ashwin in the past in the IPL. But today, I think Ashwin didn't bowl that well. Ashwin bowled a little faster. He was bowling. I mean, he was kind of bowling very defensively today rather than going for wickets. So maybe Ashwin will also improve as as the tournament progresses. But overall, I think once Rabada and Norke comes, I think Delhi will be one of the better bowling lineups. And not to forget Akshar Patel. And Akshar Patel,
True.
I think in the previous IPL as well, in the initial 8 or 9 games, I think his economy rate was stupendous. I mean, he was, I think, one of the standout performers. So that would make, I mean, easily Delhi one of the best bowling units in this tournament.
Absolutely. I think we'll now come to CSK's batting. Once again, they had the a pair of Faf and Ruturaj Gaikwad opening this time around, and both of them got off to horror starts. I mean, Gaikwad was done in by Chris Wokes and Faf by Avesh Khan, and they had a very torrid start. I mean, 7 for 2 in just the third over. And after that, we had a bit of a partnership between Moeen Ali and Suresh Raina. And what do you think of that partnership, especially Suresh Raina's return to IPL after about 700 days out? How good was CSK's Chinnathala in the yellow jersey once again, Sahil?
I think Suresh Raina in IPL, we all know, right? He's a different beast altogether when it comes to the IPL. So it was good to see Rana back in form. It also bodes really well for CSK as well as IPL fans. Apart from that, one thing that uh, apart from Rana, that I want to talk about is MS Dhoni. I think
Yes.
Dhoni needs to bat at number 4 or 5. He shouldn't bat below that, because he's at that now. I mean, he's retired from international cricket, so he's just at the fag end of his career. So he should bat at 4 and 5, because that's the ideal spot that he can bat. Because apart from that, if he comes at 6 and 7, we cannot expect. Today also we saw that he will always look uh, out of sorts when he comes and he tries to go after ballers uh, during these stages. So ideally, Chennai
True.
should reassess their batting strategy. I mean, Rana should bat at 3, Moeen Ali should open the innings, then they can have Rayudi at 4, and then we have Dhoni, and then Sam Curran, Bravo, and Jadeja can bat at any order, considering the situation of the match. But Dhoni considering, and it's very important from CSK's perspective that Dhoni has to perform. He is a very key, say, a vital cog in their wheel. Uh, as much as they missed Raina last year, I would say Dhoni's form was also very rusty last year, and So if CSK got to have any chance of qualify for the playoffs, then both Raina and Dhoni have to fire this year.
Absolutely, absolutely right, Sahil. What do you think, Rahul, about especially Moeen Ali's debut in CSK colours? How good was he? We've got a comment from Pratyush already. Chinnatala Raina arrived, and I think he did. He was a welcome addition to the party today. So, what do you think of Moeen Ali's innings today? 36 in 24, and he kind of looked in the in the zone already. What do you think, Rahul?
Yeah, and it's really good to see Moeen finally get finally bat at the position where he should be. And England don't use him that way. RCB didn't use him that way. So yeah, and he did the job. He rebuilt at a good rate. He was took on the bowlers, and it is unfortunate he got out early. But he if he stayed for more time, I think CSK would have probably gotten a bigger score. And I guess it is sort of an unnecessary shot in that situation. But well, he did what he had to do, and certainly can solve one of CSK's problems. But I agree with Sahil that they push everyone one spot up, and Dhoni either should be 4, 5, or bat at like 8 or 9. And seeing Dhoni at like number 8 and below doesn't feel right, even at this stage of his career. Yeah, that doesn't look right. So he should move on from the finisher role, because now they have Jadeja and Curran, and bat at 4, 5. So he can take a bit more time and sort of anchor sort of, and leave the finishing to the others.
Absolutely. CSK stumbled in the mid innings, especially after the wickets of Raina and Moeen Ali, and the fact that they even Rayudi tried to accelerate the scoring but couldn't go on for long, and of course MSD was taken down for a second ball duck. And then once again, the man who's always saved his team from any situation, be it England or now the CSK last year and this time around. CSK's own Kadai Kutti Singham, Sam Curran, arriving at the party and taking his brother down in some epic fashion. What do you make of Sam Curran's 34 of 15 today? I mean, once again, just came out there and started hammering the ball around. Sahil.
Sam Curran, the most noticeable part about Sam Curran for me is his intent. I mean, there are no two ways about his batting, especially. I mean, he's never in two minds. I mean, his intent is very clear, especially in T20 cricket. I mean, if the ball is there to be hit, he will hit it. I mean, whether it's his brother or it's any other bowler, he will hit him for sure. And it was really, I mean, it's a really good buy. I mean, it's a buy for the future for CSK. I mean, he can serve them for really long. And as an all-rounder, if you see his value for the from an overall squad perspective, I mean, it's a really good buy for CSK. And even as you mentioned, right, they stumbled in the middle overs, especially to have somebody like Sam Curran who can come and score those 34 runs of just 15 balls. I mean, what more can you ask for? And the way actually DC scored chased these runs, you can imagine how important those runs were. And I mean, people will forget this Sam Curran innings now because DC so easily chased these runs. But I think it was a very, very good innings. I mean, it was a really good innings from Sam Curran today.
Absolutely, Sahil. Rahul, I'll come to you. CSK has always been looking for that successor to somebody like Albie Mokel, who served CSK so beautifully in the first 6 years or so of the IPL, and helped them win 2 titles on the trot. Have they found that successor in Sam Curran finally? Has he totally become Albie Mokel 2.0 for CSK?
Yeah, actually, I think when we think about the old CSK team, I think right now Albie is sort of forgotten because he's retired quite some time ago. But yeah, I saw a picture on Twitter where similar poses from Albie and Sam, and yeah, I think he will be that one of the guys they retain, and hopefully CSK would have him for say, they can easily have him for the next decade or so. He just provides so much value to the team. And to me, I don't know what it is, but he really has that CSK, something that CSK about him. I don't know what it
True.
is, but he really, for me, fits in that CSK jersey.
And also, just
Absolutely.
one more point about his batting. If you
Hmm.
see, last year he was promoted to open the batting, and he was so good
Yes.
while opening the batting. This year, I think CSK's management has a different role assigned to him. Even for England, he was batting lower down the order, and he's doing a really good job. So he's like a 360 kind of a player, right? He can bat at any position. I mean, it would be really harsh on him to compare with him Ben Stokes, but at least in T20 cricket, I mean, he's doing that kind of a role. And even if you look at his stats, I mean, his strike rate against pace bowlers or spin bowlers, he's equally adept at playing spin as well as fast bowling. So I mean, it's you look around players. I mean, in international cricket, you will hardly find such a player like Sam Curran in any other team.
True, true, absolutely. I think Sam Curran is CSK's new Albie Morkel, and probably even more than that. He's just totally owned the game. I think one of the few bright sparks of CSK today. Coming down to Delhi's bowling today, what do you think of especially the inclusion of Avesh Khan? How impressive did he look with the ball today? I think looked quite fast and accurate. What do you think, Sahil?
Yes, I mean, especially I mean, Delhi Capitals fans were worried that their death bowling without Rabada and Norke will look very weak. But I think Avesh Khan really would have soothed their nerves because he bowled those Yorkers. I saw that last over. I mean, that was a really good over from Avesh Khan. And I think going
True,
forward, Delhi I mean, they have a problem to solve whether they get back Ishan Sharma or they continue with Avesh Khan. And going back
true,
and going on today's form, I would like to continue with Avesh Khan. I mean, he looked
absolutely.
really hungry to bowl today. I mean, even his initial 2 overs were really good. He, the ball to Faf was really good, and the last over, I mean, along with Norke. And also, don't forget that if he can bowl that kind of a death over, then it also
True.
gives Rishabh Pant that option to bring back Norke or Rabada in the middle overs if any of these bowlers like Amit Mishra or Ashwin goes for runs like they did today,
True.
right? So they can get
True.
back a over from Rabada or Norke, and he doesn't have to go back to Stoinis for that middle overs. So it's a good problem to have for Delhi Capitals and Ricky Ponting. So let's see how they cope up with it in the next games.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Avesh looked very, very good, but there was another very impressive performer for Delhi today with the ball. That was Chris Wokes. Rahul, I'll come to you. A first T20 game for Chris Wokes after 2018. How good was he looking in on today on the Wankhede today? I mean, what do you think of his performance today?
Yeah, I know it's a pretty crazy stat that he hasn't played T20s in almost 3 years. That's if you think about how much cricket's played, that's just crazy to think about. And yeah, he bowled really well, and should have definitely bowled a fourth somewhere. Maybe could have bowled a third in the power play instead of Ashwin. Um, that sixth over. But aside from that, yeah, he bowled really well, and that's all he can do considering he's unlikely to he's not a starter in the Delhi team, but these performances means he'll get a game every now and then, if needs be, and he can do a role. That final over was pretty good as well.
Yes.
After the first ball boundary, he restricted them just singles
Yeah.
and doubles and
Yeah,
got
he
cut.
pulled things back actually. Yeah,
Yeah,
otherwise they would have been chasing above 195
yeah,
definitely.
True. Absolutely. We have to go on the spinners watch today. Not another bad day for for an Indian spinner who's hunting for a place in the T20 World Cup squad. Ravichandran Ashwin, a very very bad day in office. Just 1 over 4 for 47. 4 overs, 1 for 47. Sahil, what do you think? Is this a kind of a performance that Ashwin would want, especially in a T20 World Cup year, and considering the fact that India is desperately looking for a wicket-taking spinner in the T20 format?
Yes. Uh, First of all, I don't think that Ashwin is that spinner, that wicket-taking option that India is looking for. Because don't forget that India already has Washington Sundar, who is doing that job in the power play, and he has done a wonderful job. Be it for India, be it for RCB last year. I think his numbers are really, really staggering. Uh, Sundar's numbers.
True,
Regarding Ashwin,
absolutely.
I think Ashwin will come back. I think he just had a bad day. I mean, let's put it that way. He just had a
Ab-
bad day today. I mean, he was bowling a little quicker. I don't know why. I mean, he was really bowling fast today. He was bowling those darts, and he was just don't know. He was bowling a little defensively today. So it was just a bad day in office for Ashwin, I guess today.
Rahul,
But
what do you
regarding
think?
the
Yes.
sorry, just one more point regarding the
Yes.
T20 World Cup. I think he's just a little down in the pecking order, behind Washington Sundar. Uh, if Washington Sundar gets injured, I think I'll pick Ashwin instead of Sundar. But my first choice would be Washington Sundar.
Rahul, what do you think? Ravichandran Ashwin, like Sahil said, did looked out of sorts today. What comments do you have on his performance?
Yeah, he was trying a lot. You know that when he starts trying different actions, one ball he did imitated Kedar Jadhav. Uh,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
he starts doing these kind of things, then he's trying to overthink that the batsman got in his mind a bit. That said, his first 2 overs he went for 4 boundaries, but a couple of those weren't middled, and he says a bit unlucky. But then he went for 4 sixes and 7 balls, which yeah, perhaps Pant could have taken him off. He bowled him 4 on the trot. I think maybe that is somewhere where could have done differently. But yeah, it's just a bad day, I guess. And he's a champion player. He'll bounce back.
Absolutely, Ravi Sharan Ashwin. Nothing more has to be said about him. He's a player who thrives in adversity, and he'll definitely find a way back. Coming down to Delhi's approach to the bat, there we yesterday the internet broke when a certain Indira Nagar ka Hunda came about, and one of his wards today just showed what a Gunda should be doing on a cricket pitch. Is it a Shawshank redemption coming about for Prithvi Shaw, or is it are we speaking a little too soon? Sahil.
Uh, No, I think Prithvi Shaw is a class player. There's no doubt about that. I mean, he has scored loads of runs. I mean, he was a prodigy. He has proved himself over the years in domestic cricket, even in international cricket. I mean, if you look at his bat performance, I mean, even in New Zealand, he scored a 50 in those 2 tests. It's just that one day-night test, and I think he was just. I thought he was made a scapegoat in that 36 all-out test. I mean, that just one bad test he has in his career. And yes, he had a bad IPL as well. I mean, initial, I think 4 or 5 games, he had a decent start to the IPL, 2020. But after that, his form went down. But apart from that, I mean, he's a class player. There's no doubt about that. I think coming back to his technique, whether he has come back, he really made a comeback in Vijay Hazare Trophy. I mean, he scored loads of runs. So there is no doubt about that he's hungry for runs. There is no, there are no temperamental issues, I think, with Prithvi Shaw. Uh, Everybody has talked about his technique, that how his back leg goes to the onside. Uh, the trigger movement goes to the onside. It should go to the offside. I mean, that back and across should go to the offside so that he can cover the movement of the ball, but it goes towards the onside. And I have read that he has worked really hard on that. I mean, today as well, while watching him, you could see that he just sometimes he tries hard. He has worked on that, and in some balls you can see that he's trying to cover that off. But in some balls, when he's trying to play his shots, he still that back leg goes towards the onside. So he's working hard. I think he's a natural stroke player. He will always play his strokes. So I hope he doesn't restrict himself and doesn't go into his shell, which he hasn't. I mean, we can see he has scored double centuries in Vijay Hazare Trophy. So definitely, I mean, his mind is in the right place. I mean, he has got the support of the team management. I mean, as you said, right, the Indira, and I think we have I had read this that this Indranagar ka Gunda has backed Prithvi Shaw to the hilt. I mean,
True.
I remember when this whole technique thing came about 2 years back. So Prithvi Shaw had said that Rahul sir told me that don't worry about technique as long as you are scoring runs. There's nothing to worry about. So that's what
Abs-
important. That's what is important. I think if he's scoring runs, I think there's nothing to worry about. And there's one more example that I think we should all talk about. We have seen in that Sachin's documentary that came about, where that's famous example where Ganguly mentions that Sachin never batted in the 2003 World Cup in the nets, and we all
True.
know he was the highest run scorer. So I mean, let Prithvi Shaw be the batsman that he wants to be. I think he should come up good. I mean, we have a lot of exciting talent in Indian cricket, and Prithvi Shaw is right up there at the top, definitely.
Absolutely. Rahul, what do you think of Prithvi Shaw's innings? I mean, he completely owned the stage today, completely put the CSK bowlers on the back foot. What views do you have about Shaw?
Yeah, it's a great start to his season, which is a big one for him. Considering he didn't do well last time, and on the back of those Vijay Hazare runs, he really needs to bring it through. And what a start today! The intent from the start, plays some beautiful shots, and yeah, like what more can you say? He's he's an exciting player, and he's shown that if he plays like this, probably demands a place ahead of KL Rahul if he can show this intent at the top. So from that point of view, I would hope he can continue this form for Delhi, and if he does, it just makes the Indian selection all the more difficult.
I think you're right. There's a comment that's coming from Shivshish Mohanty, and he said Praveen Amre might have some contribution in that too. And
Yeah.
I think he's quite right. Praveen Amre just rejoined Delhi as a batting consultant this season, and I think he was working extensively with Shaw during the off season, and I think that just did help. So,
And
so I
also
think
credit to
yes,
Ramesh Pawar, who made him the captain after Surya and Shreyas Iyer were called up to the Indian squad in the Vijay Hazare Trophy.
absolutely,
And so I think
absolutely.
that also gave him confidence that the Mumbai squad had. He was given the charge of the Mumbai team, and they
Absolutely.
and he paid off that confidence with those runs. Yeah.
You're right. You're right. Absolutely. It's there and there was a double act today. A certain Gabbar also decided to show up in his Ramgarh mein. Gabbar decided to revisit his old badlands, and Shikhar Dhawan looked imperious today. Man of the match as well for a superb 85 from just about 50 deliveries. Rahul, what do you think of his innings, and how big is it considering that he's already lost his spot in the T20 side, and how big is it considering the overall scheme of things?
Yeah, even in the last season, there's a couple of hundreds that he hit. He's shown that he's able to score with a much faster rate, and yeah, this is from both of them. It's just like it's beautiful carnage. It wasn't, it was beautiful stroke play. It was not, um, you know, it's not like the other usual kind of carnage that we see. And yeah,
Absolutely.
um, it's really big, and he's probably going to have a good season. I thought he's going to get 100. He didn't, but that doesn't really matter at 85 or 54. Um, they really took the game away from by the end of the power play. It felt that yeah, there's nothing much CSK are able to do to stem these guys. So from especially after losing Iyer, I think if Dhawan and Shaw can have a consistent season at the top, providing those 50 plus partnerships, they'll set for a very good season.
Absolutely. Sahil, what do you have to say about Dhawan's performance and him again unleashing carnage today? What's your take on his innings, and does is this the sort of an innings that might help him gain a spot back in the Indian T20 setup?
I'm glad that you said that he'll gain back a spot, because I have to admit that in the last 2-3 years, I mean, this question always comes up that whether, and before every series, that whether Dhawan will be able to retain his place or not. And every time when we have this question, he comes up with these kind of knocks. So I have to admit that we always critics come up or criticize him that he's not in that usual form and all. But even last year, he hit those back-to-back centuries. There were question marks over his strike rate in the IPL, and then he really hit those hundreds with a very good strike rate. He won them a couple of games, some match-winning knocks. So I mean, Dhawan keeps surprising me. Even today, today I have to, blame the CSK bowlers as well. I mean, they were uh, giving him a lot of room as well today. If you watched the
True.
initial few overs, they were giving him a lot of room. I mean, free buys. I mean, in off stump, half volleys, width outside the off stump. I mean, Dhawan will always latch onto that. And you would always think that bowlers would have figured out Dhawan by now. I mean, after playing so much cricket, but still, I mean, Dhawan comes up, and I think he still comes up with ways to score runs. I mean, it's really happy. I mean, he's one player. I mean, uh, such a happy-go-lucky guy on the field. So really
True.
good to see him score runs today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Fit firing, and a Shikhar Dhawan in full flow looks is one of the best sights that you can have on a cricket pitch, and I think he just showed it today. We
And
come now to this very interesting.
took a very good catch as well of Moeen Ali, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, when he's taking those sort of catches and doing the doing that
High five.
patented thigh slap, I think he's. I think it's just one of the sides of, on the pitch. We've got another interesting question from Shivashish Mohanty and one of the burning takes today. What do you guys make of Rishabh Pant's captaincy today? And he's mentioned apart from the less chatter behind the stumps. What do you think of Rishabh Pant as a skipper today? First day, first show. How has he passed his test? Rahul.
Yeah, I know. Like we discussed earlier, there's a couple of bowling changes, especially Vokes when you're bowling three that could have done differently. But I would not give like, so much criticism because it's just his first game as captain, and they did a good job. It's not Ashwin having a bad day is it's not usually doesn't really happen. So maybe you could instead of bowling if it is not Ashwin, if it's another spinner, would he have bowled that spinner four on the trot? I'm not sure. And yeah, bowling giving Stoinis that over, I felt at that point was also could not have done it, but it's hindsight, and um, largely he did a good job, and especially with the bat, it was good to see him come at one down. I mean, the game was more or less done by then, but it's still nice to see coming at one down and trying to push for that net run rate boost.
Absolutely. I think Sahil, what do you make of RP17's captaincy debut for Delhi? Did he look good and convincing to you and in command, or is it still the brains of Ricky Ponting controlling the body of Rishabh Pant?
No, he looked in good control. I think he's already looks a very matured player to me. So even today, I mean, when Ashwin got hit for those 2 sixes, I think he's really came up to Ashwin and he had a few words with him, and so it was nice to see. I mean, Rishabh Pant being involved in the game. He was not just a passive observer in the game. So he was observing things. He was doing. Obviously, it was his first game, and that's why I think he was chatting a little less. I mean, he was a little nervous as well today. So as the tournament progresses, you might see a lot more chatter like those Spider-Man chants and all. We'll get to see more
I
of
think
these.
I think yes. I think we all miss those three golden words. Come on,
Yeah.
Ash, coming out more regularly. I think
Yes, yes.
so. Yes, I think
Once
that's
he's
the
more comfortable in that position, right? He's more comfortable in making those decisions, right? Uh,
hmm.
Apart from that, there are a couple of decisions. Like today, he promoted himself to number 3. I mean, I would like to see him at number 3 definitely. But how do you fit in Ajinkya Rahane? That's a big question today as well. Today, you didn't have a big. I mean, the openers had set a very good platform. So even today, if you had sent a Ajinkya Rahane, that wouldn't have made much difference whether you send a Stoinis or a Pant or a Rahane. But how Delhi manages that number 3 position with Rahane in the team, I mean, that's going to be the biggest question for Ponting and Pant, I think, this season. Because even last season, I think this was their biggest this was the biggest cookie that they couldn't solve last year. Uh,
True.
when they were chasing those 180, 190, 200 scores, right? They were unsure whom to send at 3, 4, whether to promote Stoinis, whether to send Hetmeyer. So, so that's something that Pant has to and I wouldn't actually blame, even if something goes wrong, I wouldn't blame everything, put everything on Pant's shoulders. I mean, it's would be a collective decision of Ponting. I mean, there is such a big brain in the Delhi Capitals management. So, but they would have to
Absolutely.
figure this out actually, this puzzle of how to manage this number 3. Do
I
they
mean,
continue with Pant
Absolutely.
at 3, or how do they fit Rahane? Because if you look at today, if let's say if they lose 2, 3 quick wickets, Rahane at 6 or 7 looks really odd, right?
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
they could maybe use Rahane like how CSK used to use Badrinath. So if there's an early wicket, then Badrinath used to come in and steady the ship. And if CSK used to start off well, then Badrinath wouldn't be in bad. He'd go down to 6, 7. So that's something they could look to do with Rahane. I don't know how
Yeah,
often
and
it would work.
also when they're batting first, so is Rahane the right option to bat at 3? I really doubt. I mean,
That's
can he set the pace for the innings, especially when you're playing at place like Wankhede?
Absolutely. I think there were. I think we've got a couple of questions, comments as well. Karthik Raj saying about Berendorf. Berendorf could be a weaker death bowler than Chahar, and I think he is right. Berendorf is mostly a power play bowler, and even when he played for those 5-6 games for Mumbai in 2019, whenever he was brought into the middle and death overs, he did not look in control. So I think there CSK have a bit of a problem there.
So that's
Then
why I think they have to continue with Bravo for some time. I mean, they have to trust Bravo to do that job. I mean, and Dhoni, I think, knows how to get the best of Bravo. I mean, Dhoni gets into those discussions with Bravo. I mean, they have that kind of telepathic understanding where they get the job done. So hopefully, I mean, Bravo does the job for
true,
CSK in the death over.
absolutely. Absolutely. And a comment from Srinivas Sadanand as well. Shardul's bowling figures of 3.4 overs, 2 for 53. My God. And Pratyush saying why Shardul failed to activate the God mode. Thoughts today. I think let's just say gods also have their off days at times, and I think this was one of those off days for the Lord Thakur. So I think he will make a comeback.
Don't
But yes,
forget, Shardul
going
has
in,
been brilliant for India for the last 3 months. I mean, he deserves the rest, I guess.
yes,
He can have a bad 2-3 games. I mean, now
yes, he can
he has
afford those.
earned
He's
that.
got
Yeah.
a long line of he's earned that line of credit from everybody with his lordly performances. Going into the next games for both Delhi and Chennai. Chennai will be taking on Sunrise Hyderabad on 14th. So in about on Wednesday we will be seeing them in action,
Yeah.
and then we have with Delhi playing a day earlier against Rajasthan. What other changes do you think? And both games will be again in Mumbai. What changes do you think the team should consider going ahead
So
for the next game?
for for CSK, definitely I would bring in Tahir instead of Faf. I mean, Faf looks out of start for T20 as of now. I mean, Moeen Ali, he looks in good touch. We have seen today as well. Bravo, as I said, can bring his expertise and his experience into death bowling. And Sam Curran, we all have seen, right? He's an overall package, a multi-dimensional player. So that's the fourth spot that remains. I mean, you have to got Tahir because CSK, I don't see a player getting wickets for them right now. I don't see a bowler who can take wickets for them. So Tahir could be that option. He could be that bowler. And I think for the prior to this season in 17 and 18, I think he has done a really good job for, I mean, he was the purple cap holder as well. So, and once you take wickets, I mean, that changes the game as well. I mean, today as well, if you get early wickets, I mean, if you take Shaw and Dhawan, just imagine you get Rahane in, right, at 3. Delhi sends in Rahane. Rahane plays a cautious innings, and then you are still in the game till the 20th over, and anything can happen then, right? So you have to give
Absolutely.
in the chance. And even SRH, I don't think SRH has a very great batting lineup. So they also rely on those top 3-4 batsmen. So you need to take those wickets. You cannot just say that we want to bowl 20 overs, we'll mix and match, we'll bowl Thakur, Chahar, and Curran, and we'll just manage through. So, I mean, Dhoni and Fleming need to get back Tahir into the team. And regarding the batting lineup for CSK, I mean, Dhoni needs to bat at either 4 or 5. Considering Rayudi is playing, I would say he should bat now. Dhoni should bat at 5 and Rayudi at 4 as of now. Yeah, but
Absolutely.
Dhoni should not bat below 5 for me.
Absolutely. Rahul, what's your take? Going ahead, next game for CSK against SRH and for Delhi against Rajasthan. What changes do you see them making?
It's like okay, I mean CSK are usually quite loyal to their experienced players, so I wonder if Faf will get dropped, but he really should. They have enough Indian batting options that they can slot in, or they don't even have to. They can just bring in Tahir for Faf and just push everyone one up, and it doesn't really compromise their batting. They didn't even have to use Bravo and Thakur, and which shows you don't really need um, batting until 9-10. I mean, it's good to have guys who can hit, but not if it compromises your bowling. So that's what I hope they do. And as for Delhi, it's once Rabada and Nautya are fit, then it's a straight swap back in.
Yeah, and yeah, you're correct. So I think CSK, are playing Punjab and not SRH.
No, it's they are playing Punjab. They are playing Punjab much later. Their next encounter is against SRH only on 6. In fact, no, actually CSK are going to be in action much later. They have a week's time to rest off. So yes, they will be playing Punjab. That was a mistake on my part. So yes. Pardon me for that. So yes, CSK do play Punjab next up, and that should be a very interesting game. Delhi also action against Rajasthan a few days earlier. So I think it should be a very interesting game.
I just want to point out about the changes that Delhi want to make. I mean, Rabada and Norgay should come back. There has to be.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't think that based on Chris Woakes' batting form, they should consider that we play an extra, like Chris Woakes can offer something with the bat, so they continue with Chris Woakes. I mean, they should go all and out and out with Rabada and Norgay, and they can have that Avesh Khan or Ishant Sharma, whatever they want to go with, so that they have that whole bowling unit sorted out with Ashwin Mishra and Akshar Patel when he comes up. So they have these 6 top bowlers in their bowling lineup. Because as I said, their batting lineup looks a little susceptible with Rahane in the squad. So they have to keep their bowling unit at their optimum.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I think it's quite right. So I think that should be it for our post-match discussion. We have already hit close to the 45-minute mark. So thank you, Sahil. Thank you, Rahul. You guys added a lot of content to our discussion today. And thank you to everybody who joined us on the live chat. I think your comments and opinions always very valuable to us. So we thank you all for joining in. So follow MTAG on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and subscribe to the channel on YouTube, and check for the MTAG website in the description box below. So thank you so much, guys. We will take your leave, and we will be back for the review of the KKR SRH game as well. So join us for that, and wish you all good night and good health. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.